got a chance to see the children a couple of weeks ago, and just them in the home with the grandmother, Catherine, was a beautiful experience.
While Michael Jackson's life was marked by well-documented challenges, it was his death that became enveloped in numerous controversies.
The singer Michael Jackson is reported to have died about 3 hours ago. He was not breathing when paramedics arrived. They performed heart massage.
Despite the tumultuous circumstances leading up to his passing, the focus shifted to the mystery surrounding his last meal. Michael Jackson, a legendary entertainer, remains ingrained in the collective memory as both immensely popular and highly controversial. Rising to fame as a child star and later solidifying his iconic status with groundbreaking albums like Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, Jackson's career was a testament to his musical genius. However, the trajectory of his life took a tumultuous turn as his personal struggles, characterized by eccentric behavior, reported addiction, and child allegations, began to overshadow his artistic achievements in his later years. Despite his continuous presence in tabloid headlines, Jackson chose to withdraw from public performances entirely during the last decade of his life.
Totally false. Before I would hurt a child, I would slit my wrists. I would never hurt a child. This is totally false. I was outraged.
Despite a tumultuous life frequently unfolding in the public eye, the abrupt passing of Michael Jackson on June 25, 2009 elicited genuine shock. After decades marked by more unsettling tabloid headlines than chart-topping hits, it appears that the entertainer was poised to redirect his focus to his career. He had committed to a 50-night residency at London's esteemed O2 Arena for a comeback show titled This Is It, promising an extravagant retrospective of his illustrious career. Unbeknownst to Jackson's fans at the time was the extent of his health struggles and the race he and his team faced to ready him for the stage. This involved addressing issues such as insomnia and D-dependency that had developed in his later years, alongside efforts to maintain a healthy diet. The details of his final 24-hour meals, a crucial aspect often shrouded in misinformation, shed light on the efforts undertaken to ensure his well-being during this critical period.
I get the breakfast ready for the children in the morning around 8:30, like that, 9 o'clock, and they're having breakfast, and time goes by, and
on June 24, 2009, the day before Michael Jackson's untimely death, his final meal at home took place in the company of his family. Despite the forthcoming This Is It residency scheduled in London, rehearsals were conducted at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, conveniently located just a short drive from Jackson's residence on Carrollwood Drive. During this meal, Jackson shared the table with his children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, all of whom resided with him. Catering to the nutritional needs of the Jackson family was their personal chef, Kai Chase, responsible for crafting health-conscious meals for the pop icon and his loved ones. In a recollection shared on Larry King Live, Chase mentioned preparing 3 meals a day for Jackson, some of which he would carry to rehearsals for This Is It. Whether at home or on the go, Jackson consistently dined downstairs with his children, fostering a familial atmosphere around their shared meals. According to the Associated Press, Kai Chase, the personal chef for the Jackson family, stated that Michael Jackson's last meal with his children at their home consisted of seared ahi tuna paired with an organic salad. This culinary ensemble was complemented by a refreshing blend of carrot and orange juice. It's worth noting that some media outlets initially reported a different menu, suggesting Jackson had a chicken and spinach salad. However, these variations seem to stem from misinterpretations of Chase's broader recollections regarding the family's preferred meals.
they had the chance to play with their cousins, and they're having a great time. They look wonderful. They're happy, and I think it's a great decision.
And seem very attached to their grandma.
Yes.
Contrary to some wrongful claims that Jackson's meal with his family was his final one, another witness contradicts this narrative. According to additional accounts, the star reportedly consumed another meal before heading to rehearsals on the fateful night that would become his last. The Grandeur of This Is It was envisioned to be one of the most spectacular live stage shows ever conceived. According to Randall Sullivan's Untouchable, The Strange Life and Tragic Death of Michael Jackson, the production not only aimed to showcase Michael Jackson's remarkable array of hits, but also promised a visual feast with extravagant set pieces and cutting-edge 3D effects. Amidst this spectacle, the audience anticipated Jackson to deliver a performance of unmatched brilliance, singing and dancing at a level he hadn't achieved in over a decade. Tragically, Jackson's journey to reclaim his former glory was hindered by chronic back pain stemming from an on-stage accident in '97. This persistent discomfort led to his dependence on pain medication, impacting his sleep patterns at the time of This Is It. The responsibility for Jackson's health during this critical period was entrusted to Dr. Conrad Murray by the show's promoter AEG Live. Dr. Murray in turn administered prescription Ds to address the pop star's health challenges.
Of course, the most hidden treasure trove of his life is with me, but I have protected Michael up till now.
Simultaneously, the production crew harbored concerns about Michael Jackson's apparent frailty, particularly given the demanding expectations placed on him. Recognizing the physical challenges of the arduous rehearsal schedule, there was a concerted effort to encourage Jackson to maintain a healthy diet to sustain his energy levels. According to Untouchable, one individual who closely collaborated with Jackson in those concluding days was Alonzo, an accomplished magician tasked with orchestrating large-scale feats of magic for the show. Alonzo attested that on June 24th, just before rehearsals commenced at 9 p.m., he observed what might have been Jackson's last meal, chicken and broccoli.
And they said that he could not pay for the popsicle his daughters were using, the toilet paper that they were using to wipe their private areas, that he was penniless. I was shocked.
The expectations placed on Michael Jackson to deliver sensational performances throughout his 50-night residency were monumental. While undoubtedly motivated to provide his fans with an unforgettable experience, reports indicated that the singer was facing significant financial challenges. Agreeing to the shows was seen as an opportunity to revitalize not only his career and reputation, but also his financial standing. Consequently, the early rehearsals proved to be demanding, with the King of Pop grappling with poor health and inadequate sleep, causing concern among the production team.
I was manipulated by Michael. I did not enable him at any time in his addiction.
Facing these challenges, Jackson was notably absent for several early rehearsals. As the opening night of This Is It in London loomed just a few weeks away by the end of June, the pressure intensified for things to fall into place, underscoring the urgency to overcome obstacles and present a triumphant performance. During the last rehearsal at the Los Angeles Staples Center, multiple witnesses, including Ed Alonzo, attested to its resounding success. Jackson appeared notably happier and healthier than in any preceding rehearsal, leaving a positive impression on the observers. The session extended until midnight and encompassed Jackson's complete repertoire of hits. As the night concluded, there was a collective conviction that they were moving in the right direction. Jackson expressed satisfaction and gratitude to the team, ending the evening on an optimistic note. However, fate took a tragic turn, marking the final appearance of the King of Pop before the team. Despite Michael Jackson's evident energy and enthusiasm during his final rehearsal, he grappled with issues at home, particularly related to sleep. Despite his genuine excitement about the quality of the This Is It performance, calming himself down proved challenging, as detailed in Untouchable. Nonetheless, he made an effort to go straight to bed, with Dr. Conrad Murray tasked with preparing medications aimed at aiding the overworked star in getting much-needed rest for his comeback residency. Between 1:30 a.m. and 3 a.m., Murray administered 3 different sedatives: Valium, Ativan, and Versed. Additional doses were given throughout the night as Jackson's insomnia persisted.
Michael Jackson never mentioned a single doctor to me who was treating him with opioids, propofol.
Disturbingly, reports indicate that Michael Jackson's final request to Dr. Murray was for some milk. However, this seemingly innocent term concealed a more ominous reality. Untouchable reveals that milk was Jackson's nickname for propofol, a medication to which he had developed a dependency due to chronic pain. Shockingly, Murray administered this substance at 10:40 a.m., marking a tragic turn of events in the life of the iconic performer. In an interview with the Associated Press, Kai Chase recounted the unsettling moment the following morning when she sensed that something was gravely amiss. Quote, "I thought maybe Mr. Jackson is sleeping late. I started preparing the lunch, and then I looked at my cell phone and it was noon. About 12:05 or 12:10, Dr. Murray runs down the steps and screams, 'Go get Prince.' He's screaming very loud. I run into the den where the kids are playing. Prince, Jackson's oldest son, runs to meet Dr. Murray, and from that point on, you could feel the energy in the house change. I walked into the hall and I saw the children there. The daughter was crying. I saw paramedics running up the stairs. Around lunchtime, Murray rushed down the stairs, urgently calling for Jackson's son, Prince. The situation escalated when paramedics arrived and hurried to Jackson's room, prompting the family to gather downstairs, where they initiated prayers. Chase, in a surreal turn of events, was asked to leave the house while Jackson was being transported to the hospital. Chase recalls, "We were all praying, help Mr. Jackson be okay." Then everyone was very quiet. After administering propofol to Michael Jackson and leaving him alone, Dr. Conrad Murray returned to discover that the iconic pop star was not breathing. Despite his efforts to resuscitate Jackson, who had experienced respiratory arrest, Murray was unsuccessful in reviving him. Upon stepping outside on that fateful day, Kai Chase observed a scene of urgency and distress. Ambulances occupied the courtyard and a crowd had assembled. Chase, who had been hired by Jackson in March, experienced a unique journey with the pop star. Initially let go in May, she returned to Jackson's service on June 2nd. During her tenure, she noted that Jackson's primary focus was on maintaining a diet centered around fresh and healthy food, not only for himself but also for the children under his care. She said she prepared meals for the family and occasionally for Murray. She said Jackson was in training for his upcoming shows in London and told her, "You have to take care of me." According to Kai Chase, on typical days, Dr. Conrad Murray would bring Michael Jackson the specially prepared fruit juice drinks she crafted, accompanied by granola with almond milk. The pop star's lunch, shared with the children, featured a menu ranging from items like spinach salad to chicken. Sometimes Dr. Murray would join them for dinner, which might include dishes such as seared ahi tuna. Chase mentioned that the doctor would consult with her regarding the 50-year-old singer's dietary preferences, ensuring that he ate properly.
Normally he would come around 10:30 downstairs to get Mr. Jackson's juices or some sort of breakfast for him for that morning. So around that time, I noticed I hadn't seen Dr. Murray.
Despite the routine, the only peculiar aspect was the presence of oxygen tanks. Chase admitted to never inquiring about the purpose of the oxygen and emphasized that she noticed no indications of Jackson being on D or experiencing declining health. Normally in the morning, he would bring oxygen tanks from upstairs downstairs, one in each hand, she said. Authorities conducted searches at Dr. Conrad Murray's Las Vegas home and medical office as part of an investigation, which also involved raids of his clinic and storage in Houston the previous week. Pending toxicology reports, investigators are operating on the theory that the potent anesthetic propofol may have played a role in causing Michael Jackson's heart to stop, as per a law enforcement official speaking to the Associated Press. Murray reportedly informed investigators that he routinely administered the D to help Jackson sleep, including on the early morning of June 25th.
I did not spare myself. I am not a perfect man. Neither is Michael.
The official, speaking anonymously due to the ongoing investigation, disclosed that propofol is meant to be administered exclusively in monitored medical environments by trained personnel. Murray allegedly left the bedroom and returned to find the star unresponsive, marking a critical point in the unfolding events under investigation. The gravity of the situation ultimately led to Murray's legal troubles. Police have said Murray is cooperating and have not labeled him as a suspect, and his lawyer, Edward Chernoff, has said the doctor, quote, didn't prescribe or administer anything that should have K'd Michael Jackson. Similar to Dr. Murray, Kai Chase revealed that she had been enlisted to join Michael Jackson for his comeback concerts in London. Interestingly, the request for her involvement came directly from Jackson's 12-year-old son, Prince Michael II. Prince said, "Daddy wants me to tell you he wants you to go to London with us," she recalled. "I said, tell your daddy that I'm pleased and honored." Having completed paperwork and submitted a copy of her passport to the Jackson staff, Kai Chase anticipated departing for London on July 3rd. However, on June 23rd, Jackson informed her, "I'm packed and I'm ready to go." Sadly, just 2 days later, the pop icon passed away. This marked the end of what Chase described as her dream job and a picturesque period in her life. The journey began in March when Michael Williams, Jackson's assistant, contacted her. Initially unaware that the client was Jackson, she was informed that her services as a personal chef were requested. Quote, "I couldn't believe it," she said. "I asked him if I was on candid camera. I said, am I being punked?" Kai Chase explained that Michael Jackson had reviewed her resume, which highlighted her experience cooking for Macy Gray and Jamie Foxx, along with catering a fundraiser for President Barack Obama. Jackson was also aware of her multiracial background and the fact that Red Fox was her godfather. However, before officially starting her role, Chase had to undergo approval from 3 additional individuals, the Jackson children. Quote, "I came to the house and the first people I met were the kids. They started interviewing me," she said. "They told me, we're into healthy eating. When they approved her, she went to work and we developed a really great bond," she said. Most days, she said, Jackson made a point of having both lunch and dinner with the children. Prince, 11-year-old Paris, and 7-year-old Prince Michael II, known as Blanket, and each meal was preceded by Paris saying grace. After weeks of healthy food, she said she wrote Jackson a note with a suggestion. I said, "What about doing comfort food Saturdays? We could do barbecued chicken and corn on the cob, maybe Mexican food or soul food." She said he loved the idea, but as the concerts approached, healthy eating returned full-time. He said, "I'm a dancer," and he wanted food that would make him not cramp up while he was dancing. She now treasures little notes she received from the children and from Jackson, and a present he gave her. Quote, "One day he handed me a little gift bag and said, 'This is for you from me and the children.' He had given me an iPod Touch because the children told him I still had a Walkman. It had the 25th anniversary Thriller album loaded on it." She said she has visited with the children since Jackson's death and they are doing well. They have so many cousins to play with. As for Chase's future, she said Jackson encouraged her to write a cookbook, and she has written one tentatively titled Fit for a King. It includes recipes she cooked for Jackson and the story of the time she worked for him. 14 years have passed since the sudden death of Michael Jackson at the age of 50, and the basic cause has been established. The 2011 trial that convicted Jackson's physician, Conrad Murray, of involuntary manslaughter revealed that the superstar's demise resulted from a lethal combination of medications in his system, notably an excessive amount of the surgical anesthetic propofol that Murray administered, a substance Jackson frequently used to aid sleep.
He freely admits that for months he's been using this to help Mr. Jackson sleep.
83 Minutes, The Doctor, The Damage, and the Shocking Death of Michael Jackson meticulously confirms these details, offering an in-depth exploration of the events between Murray leaving a heavily Jackson alone in his bedroom and the moment Jackson was brought on a gurney to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, where he was later pronounced dead.
He gave him propofol and then goes to the bathroom, comes back. Mr. Jackson's not breathing.
Beyond the events of June 25, 2009, the book delves into the various factors that converged over the years, contributing to the untimely end of the King of Pop's life. Authors Matt Richards, a documentary filmmaker, and Mark Langthorne, a former music industry manager, present a book that doesn't claim exclusive access to Jackson insiders or groundbreaking revelations about the enigmatic life of the Moonwalker. Instead, they meticulously connect the dots using testimony and evidence from Conrad Murray's trial, along with previously published media reports and books about Jackson.
To someone to sleep, even with their permission, the way that he did. I didn't think it was legal.
The narrative spans from the gloved one's reign in the 1980s to his concluding days as an artist grappling with addiction and financial struggles while attempting a comeback for which he was neither physically nor mentally prepared. As far as Michael Jackson was concerned, the 27th of January 1984 was the beginning of the end. Richards and Langthorne write, referring to the day Jackson suffered third-degree burns on his scalp while filming a Pepsi commercial. According to the book initially published last year in Britain, the singer was in such pain that he took Percocet, Darvocet, and during his subsequent scalp treatments, large amounts of Demerol, all of which kick-started decades of dependence on narcotics. That dependence, coupled with financial difficulties that would compel him to agree to a demanding string of performances in London in 2009, set the table for Jackson to become more reliant on Murray, a doctor facing his own money troubles. Dr. Conrad Murray was not, nor ever would have been, suited to be the caretaker of a complicated patient like Michael Jackson, the authors state, and from the moment they met, their fate was sealed. In 83 Minutes, the recurrent theme is the notion that Michael Jackson's demise was not just a result of Conrad Murray's negligence, but was, in fact, an inevitable outcome.
At that point, we knew this was not an honest mistake, but that this was on purpose bad medicine.
The book suggests that previous doctors who catered to Jackson's desire for substances like propofol and Jackson himself, who seemingly considered himself immune to the associated risks, played crucial roles. While followers of the Murray case and Jackson's fans may be familiar with many of the details, the book's strength lies in weaving all the pieces together in a compelling narrative.
He had an IV line that's coming down from here, and it's got a little roller clamp on the side. It's a gravity-fed system. There's very little control on the rate the drug, and that's what he was using. It's insane.
Authors Matt Richards and Mark Langthorne maintain a balance between respect for Jackson and a willingness to confront the harsher realities of his life. However, there are instances where 83 Minutes delves into invasive territory that may not always contribute to a deeper understanding. Filmmaker Brian Michael Staller, who visited Jackson in April, was shocked by his weight loss. Quote, "I hugged him and it was like hugging bones," he tells People. "After seeing him, I never thought he would complete the tour." Says Dr. Firpo Carr, a friend and confidant of Jackson's, quote, "I sensed something was wrong and quite honestly I wasn't terribly surprised when I got the news. I would get word from people in his camp that things weren't quite right." A source close to the singer who didn't want to be identified adds, quote, "Michael hasn't been feeling well. All last week he'd stopped coming out of his house to see his fans. He was doing that every day." As part of his preparations for the high-stakes UK concert tour, Jackson had been training hard. He has put in 10-hour rehearsals, a witness says, for the sort of stage spectacle fans had come to expect. Promoters insisted the 50-year-old entertainer was physically ready for the rigors of a full tour, but there was a concern among some in his inner circle that Jackson might push too hard. Quote, "They didn't want him to overtax himself," family friend Kevin McLinn tells People. "You look back in history, he never completed all the dates of his shows because he gave so much in each performance, he would go non-stop for 2 hours." And on that Thursday, even before UCLA doctors declared Jackson dead, family attorney Brian Oxman, who huddled with the grieving family at the hospital, raised the specter of possible A of D prescribed for the singer's long history of physical ailments. Quote, "If you think that the case of Anna Nicole Smith was an A, it is nothing in comparison to what we have seen in Michael Jackson's life," Oxman told CNN. Michael Jackson was on the brink of a significant leap of faith, testing himself and those who believed in him. It was an opportunity to dispel criticisms about his peculiar appearance and what seemed to be a manufactured version of family life with his 3 children whom he was raising alone. However, some people also believe that at the time of death, MJ was surrounded by harsh allegations. Michael Jackson's life was marred by strange tabloid rumors, beginning with discussions about skin bleaching and hyperbaric chambers as early as the Bad era in '87. However, it wasn't until the Dangerous era that Jackson's increasingly detached and eccentric lifestyle began to significantly impact his career.
I've helped many children, thousands of children. Cancer kids, leukemia kids. This is one of many.
In 1988, Jackson purchased a vast property in Santa Barbara County, naming it Neverland Ranch after J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, where children never grow up. Jackson developed close friendships with young children and often invited them to stay for extended periods at Neverland Ranch. This aspect of his life became increasingly scrutinized, and in '93, Jackson faced accusations of SA of an underage boy at the ranch. These allegations would continue to haunt him, creating a persistent shadow over his legacy.
You know, at that point I was pretty excited. It was otherworldly, I guess.
For the remainder of his life, Jackson was dogged by accusations involving pedophilia and SA, resulting in a kind of permanent asterisk next to his name, despite maintaining his innocence and never being convicted of any crime. These allegations cast a long and enduring shadow over his public image. Although at the time of his death in 2009, Jackson had consistently denied every accusation against him, no one believed him.
And we have busloads of kids who don't get to see those things. They come up, sick children, and enjoy it. They enjoy it in a pure, loving, fun way.
In May 1992, Michael Jackson's car broke down in Beverly Hills. When he contacted a nearby rental car agency, the owner told his wife, June Chandler Schwartz, to hurry over to the site of the stalled vehicle if she wanted to catch a glimpse of the King of Pop. Chandler Schwartz did so and brought along her 13-year-old son Jordan, who was a big fan of Jackson's. In the wake of that roadside encounter, Jackson exchanged numbers with the young Jordan Chandler, and the two developed a close friendship. Jackson flew Jordan around the world with him and often invited him over for sleepovers at Neverland Ranch. In '93, Chandler Schwartz's ex-husband Evan Chandler grew suspicious of Jackson's relationship with Jordan. On August 17th, Chandler took his son to a psychiatrist where Jordan revealed the details of Jackson's A, including fondling and OS. Per California law, the allegations were then reported to the police, who launched an investigation into Jackson.
You know, Michael just sort of starting to touch my legs and touch my crotch over my pants.
Evan Chandler took legal action against Michael Jackson on September 14th by filing a civil suit on behalf of his son, Jordan. The lawsuit claimed that Jackson had repeatedly committed S-battery on Jordan Chandler, accusing Jackson of forcing the young boy to touch his nipples while he pleasured himself. In response, Jackson vehemently denied all allegations during a satellite broadcast from Neverland Ranch in December. However, on January 25th, Jackson and his legal team reached a settlement in the case, reportedly amounting to around $23 million.
Before you label or condemn me, don't treat me like a criminal. because I am innocent.
Despite never facing criminal charges, the allegations began to tarnish Jackson's reputation, complicating the long-standing perception of him as a harmless, eccentric genius. In 2002 and 2003, BBC journalist Martin Bashir conducted a series of interviews with Michael Jackson at Neverland Ranch. The interviews were later compiled into the documentary titled Living with Michael Jackson. In the documentary, Bashir disclosed new information about Jackson's relationships with young boys whom he invited to stay at the ranch. One of these boys was Gavin Arviso, who began visiting Neverland Ranch in 2000. Arviso, a cancer survivor, had been invited by Jackson during his recovery.
It's people with a dirty mind that think like that. I don't think that way. That's not me.
When questioned about sharing a bed with Arviso, Jackson described it as a, quote, beautiful thing. Jackson asserted that his close relationship with Gavin was part of an effort to heal him. These revelations, along with other details in the documentary regarding sleepovers with underage boys, triggered a criminal investigation that ultimately led to Jackson's criminal trial in 2005.
Michael was devastated for me to leave. He actually sobbed.
So you got to stay.
So I got to stay. And so it was just Michael and I in Neverland for the next week.
By November, Arviso had anonymously accused Jackson of crude acts. The criminal investigation prompted by the documentary came to a head on November 18th when police raided Neverland Ranch and then arrested Jackson just a few days later. In December, Jackson was formally charged on 9 counts, 7 of child molestation and 2 of administering an intoxicating agent for the purpose of committing a felony. The People vs. Michael Jackson was a long, heavily publicized affair, thanks in large part to Jackson's increasingly strange antics throughout the case. On the day of his arraignment, Jackson climbed on top of a car and started dancing and waving to fans. Toward the end of the trial, Jackson was showing up to court in his pajamas. Martin Bashir was called to testify, as was the then unnamed Arviso and his family. Per a New York Times report of the testimony, Arviso stated that when he first arrived at Neverland Ranch, Jackson showed Arviso and his brother several pornographic websites depicting naked women and girls, some of them about 15 years old. Apart from the allegations related to pornography, the prosecution contended that Michael Jackson had engaged in inappropriate behavior, including pleasuring himself in front of Gavin Arviso and attempting to give him wine. Arviso's brother testified in court, asserting that he witnessed Jackson molesting his brother on 2 occasions. The prosecution also called upon Jackson's housekeeper, Blanca Francia, who claimed to have seen Jackson taking a shower with Wade Robson, another young companion of Jackson's. However, Robson, who testified in defense of Jackson, vehemently denied any improper touching or molestation as confirmed by Jackson's attorney. Blanca's son, Jason, provided independent testimony alleging that Jackson had tickled his crotch area. On June 13, 2005, Jackson was acquitted of all charges. During the trial, his defense lawyers portrayed the Arviso family as con artists, actors, and liars, motivated by financial gain and a desire to tarnish Jackson's reputation. A juror even told the New York Times that she believed Gavin Arviso's mother had instructed her children to lie to obtain money or favors from celebrities. However, his fans never believed that he could do such a thing. One of them wrote, quote, "MJ was the most beautiful, gentleman, and lovable person. The media was corrupt, but no one sees the outright lies that was to hurt his reputation. He was kind to children. No one in their right mind would spend money on children to set his own self up into chaos. Michael was not crazy. He was always innocent." Another one added, quote, "People also forget that he had 2 children of his own. These people who accused him of doing this horrid act, I feel, are trying to make some kind of sick drama show. It still can't change the fact that during his last days, the industry and media did not leave him and they kept humiliating him. And yet there are different beliefs regarding his death. Some believe that he died of depression due to these charges, and some believe that he was poisoned, and some even believe that he is not actually dead."